Welcome to a brand new video of the Target Individual Program, Target Individual Experience. Tonight, we are going to dive into the topic of mind control and ritual abuse, and we're going to continue on with the police in terms of their criminality, the criminal acts that they do, and the reason why they don't get punished because, again, those in the higher ups or the higher departments of law enforcement also engage in criminality and criminal acts, but because they have a badge and they're in the position of authority, they don't see themselves as criminal, even though, according to the law, in which they would say you or I or anybody else, if we would have done the same thing, we would be considered criminals, arrested, charged, and prosecuted. Okay? Again, I want people to understand the dark triad personality types. And I want people to also understand that these non-consensual human experimentation, particularly mind control, behavior modification, whatever you want to call it, is related to police abuse and police criminality, religious cults, particularly religious destructive cults, ritual abuse within your family, within the broader society. So we're going to dive into these things, and again, I'm going to use my experience as I always do to talk about this. Even particularly yesterday, it's 12:44 a.m. Friday, January. No, sorry, that's January. It's July. Tired. July 8th. Okay. And so let's get into it. Again, let me do this because I want to keep people informed and always remember that this is about non-consensual experimentation, regardless of what you think whatever rumors, whatever propaganda they're spreading, it is to cover up what they've done to you. Okay, it is the non-consensual experimentation that they've done to you that they don't want to be held responsible or be accountable for. Okay, so this is why they have to do what they have to do to villainize you, to spread rumors and propaganda, and the use of mind control technology to manipulate, deceive the people around you, as well as psyops, okay, to deceive and manipulate the people around you, and then try to villainize you, create stress to where you will make a mistake, they hope, or they will manipulate things, drug you, do whatever, so that they know that you're going to make a mistake, particularly when they're using the people around you, right? So you got to be very, very careful. Okay. I remember not a friend of mine. Well, yeah, it's a friend of mine. It was a TI. Not going to say the name or anything like that, because you know this happened to another TI that he knew, and this TI met this girl who, you know, they I guess had sex, and then the woman claimed that he sexually assaulted her. He got arrested, all this stuff, right? Then found out that she lied, okay? And then he became a target, okay? So they will use people to engage in criminal acts to criminalize you, to villainize you, in order so they can experiment on you, so they can have a reason, and also so they can spread propaganda to villainize you, For some of us, they've tried that, it didn't work, so they will use other methods, right? They will use the pedophilia theme. They will send uh, underage girls or boys. You know, if you're a woman, if you're a man, if you're homosexual, bisexual, whatever, and you're a TI, you gotta watch out for that. And this is one of the things when you study the non-consensual experimentation, particularly when it comes to brainwashing and manipulations of the mind, the use of drugs to alter a person' uh, psychological state or mindset. Okay, it is to do just that. Many of us don't want to believe that there are people who are devious enough to do these things. They are malicious, they are evil. And if they can create or villainize people or create criminals and then try to blackmail them into becoming snitchers or paid actors, right, to entrap other people, right? Basically, what they've done is created an army in which they have people under direct control. Okay? And again, many people don't want to believe these things happen. And particularly coming from the conscious community, particularly as a black person, coming from the conscious community, we know about Coercive Pro, and we know that the FBI, the police departments, we know this for a fact that their job and their intention is to criminalize every black man. So when I see black men participate in this, black men and black women, I say to myself, don't they understand that the same people that is getting them to target us is the same people that are targeting them also? But this is the power of brainwashing, of psychological manipulation, of mind control. Because they don't think in a logical, rational sense to even think to that broader aspect, okay? That broader sense of awareness, okay? And that's the majority of society. This is how we've been conditioned. And so for those of us who become targeted, who can now see and understand the programming, the manipulation, the tactics, though they continue to try to manipulate us and to control us, although less successful, but sometimes they are successful, but it's not that much, okay? And that is a testimony to TIs who have made a conscious effort to understand what was done to them and to other TIs. Okay, so we got to understand that. But before I begin, let me give you a recap of my targeting today. So I did 2 videos earlier. I decided not to record because usually when I don't record, they come out in full force. So I usually I'm gonna tell you guys what happened, right? So if you look at the 2 videos that I did previously, you know what happened then. On my way home, I'm walking down to the bus stop. I see a police vehicle coming out of a gas station. I'm like, okay, what have you. So this woman standing in the corner, she has a bag in her hand. She holds it up so I can see it. A few minutes later, I hear fire trucks. Okay, I ain't paying them. I'm listening to music. I said to myself, you know what? I'm not going to be focused on them tonight. And it could be because before I left, I was talking to my daughter. I said, I'll see you tomorrow. I'm going to bring cupcakes and juice to your class because her birthday is Saturday. So she went into her mother, and Pam was like, oh, why your daddy said something? I forget, he tells on everything. And I'm like, no. And not realizing, what was being done until I'm on my way home. Okay. And I said to myself, was that their way of manipulating her, hijacking her mind to try to get me not to record what was going to take place as I was heading home? So, and as I was saying that, the police siren again. Let me play the sound effect because okay, it was very short, and that was it. Okay, and it's, again, very low. So if you hear it, it is very low. This is how they've been using the sirens recently, to try to evade awareness of others, right? And so when I left there, because again I was being remotely monitored, so I had a splitting headache, and when I got home, there was this intense pressure in the front of my mind. Okay, and I had to take a headache medication for that, as well as my back, my muscle relaxer for my back. Okay, so anyway, like I said, I'm at the bus stop, so I hear the fire truck. Then all of a sudden, I see police vehicles. Another police car pulls up by the gas station. A police officer standing outside of his vehicle in the street with his back turned facing the gas station. Now, I know nothing happened in the gas station, okay? What it is, because I wasn't recording, they figured that, okay, he's not recording. We're going to, do this whole skit, right? And again, it could be the reason why I didn't record is because of what Pam had said. Okay, so that was a subliminal command, right? For me not to record anything. Okay, see, this is how I look at things, right? Because for her to say that, and then because I told her, I said, when Ethan and Alyssa had birthdays in school and before COVID, they always knew about it. We never kept it a secret for them. But again, it could be also a test, because like I said, they're constantly testing my memory. But like I said, my long-term memory is more intact than my short-term memory, right? Because you see, if you listen to the diplomats who are attacked with these weapons, and they will tell you that their short-term memory is greatly affected by these things, right? So I get to the next bus stop now, right? And, hear the ambulance, what have you, and I'm just like, whatever. And so they have like these young girls now trying to use teenagers again to target me, and I just ignore it because, like I said, I've been through it. I can see the program and I can anticipate a lot of things that they're gonna do. So I get on the bus, I get off the bus. At my stop, there was a young woman, standing there, right? She's wearing like an Adidas track pants, it has like 3 stripes or 2 stripes, what have you. It's black with, white stripes, what have you. So she sees me, right? She turns and she's standing at the corner with a table, right? So then she sees me now, and then she picks up the table. She's looking at me. She's looking at the car. It was a car. I think it was a black car that was parked. So I started looking up at the sky. I looked at the ground. I looked at my shoes. So then she looks at the on the sidewalk here in Brooklyn. They have like these little patches with dirt, right? Usually trees for planting trees and stuff like that. Sometimes there's no trees in it. It's just a bare, like kind of like a rectangle shape or a square shape box with just dirt or stone, what have you, in there. So they'll constantly look at these things, right? So I ain't say nothing, So I'm walking down my block and I see far ahead what looks like my sister, and I know it's late, right? So I know she usually don't come in from work that late. She usually leaves to go out to work. Okay, so today must be some special day, right? That at minutes to 12 at night, she's coming home walking down the block. I'm like, whatever. So anyway, I just kept walking, came in the house, what have you, and then they had my nephew and his daughter sitting in the living room. She sees me. She starts like shaking her feet, her toes, and stuff like that. So I go to take off my shoes, and I had to hold on to something to take my shoes off. So I held on, rest my hand on something, and I bend down to take off one of my shoes, and I said shoes in here. Okay. When I said shoes, I heard this. Okay. Siren. So, you know, and the shoes that I've been wearing is these Jordans I bought like many years ago, probably about 7 or 8 years ago. That's how old these shoes are, right? I have not bought sneakers in years. Okay. And they're black, white with blue laces. So, so like I said, so I'm taking off my shoes and I bend over in front of her because this is what they used to do to me. And I talk about this, that there are times when those targets so heavy, I leave the house, there'll be like a woman waiting outside. She sees me, she'll turn over and bend over. And then, in my mind, the word ASS would be shouted out loud in my inner voice. And this used to constantly happen to me. And so, and they've been doing that recently also. So after I took off one of my shoes, I move and position myself in his direction and I bend over. I took off my shoes. So I know they were feeling very, very uncomfortable because let me tell you, they both turned around. Okay. And then I took off my shoes, came into my bedroom, went into the kitchen to boil some water to make some tea. And as I'm walking back into my bedroom, his daughter sits down and she sticks her elbow out, but I couldn't see her. So, imagine there's a hallway, my bedroom, and then there's the living room. And it's an open space, right? So she sticks her elbow out of the living room, but I can't see her, just her elbow. So I'm like, okay, here we go again with the elbow. Pam started doing the elbow thing. She's in the kitchen sitting down, I'm walking by, she would stick her elbow out. Until I started sticking my elbow out. So when I walked by, my elbow would touch her elbow. After doing it a couple of times, she stopped. Okay. So, this is just one of the things that I see. Like I said, I'm constantly learning the shit that they do. And I have to. You have to. In order for you to fight back, if you're in a war and if you don't learn your enemy's strategy, you're gonna lose. They're gonna always have the upper hand on you. Now, as TIs, we're just individuals, right? So they're gonna always have not to say always, but for the most part, have the upper hand on us because they have the resources, the people to do whatever they want to do. They have, the law enforcement to, create whatever scenarios, to spread whatever rumor, to set you up whatever way, and there's nothing you can do about it. Okay. And they'll pay people. We know about particularly the NYPD having secret accounts, okay, which auditors cannot even look at. We know that they send police officers overseas to training counterterrorism. This is a fucking police department. It's not the CIA. It's not the FBI. Okay. You know what I'm saying? We know that they buy secret technologies like Pegasus. We know they have that. Okay? Because I know for sure because they've downloaded it onto my phone. Okay? So we're going to dive into a lot of these things. Because like I said, and many that police departments across America, they're not law enforcement agencies. They are a criminal gang. They're a federal authorized criminal gangs, criminal drug dealers, criminal serial killers, criminal serial rapists, criminal serial abusers of the public, and particularly of black people. But guess what? I've said this, I've been saying this for years. What white people allow the cops to do to black people, eventually it will trickle down to them. Okay? Because you see what they have done by not saying anything when cops abuse, lie, kill, rob from black people is that they create a mentality within these police officers, right, who become narcissistic, psychopathic, and sociopaths. And eventually, that power that they feel that they have because white people remain silent, they're going to start to turn on white people. And I'm going to show you a video of just that. Okay? All right. So anyway, let's talk about mind control and ritual abuse. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that because this video is not, I don't want this video to be too long. But I do want people to understand and realize what is going on. Okay? So in this website, this is a Google, this is a collection of documents, videos, things that we as TIs should know. It talks about hypnosis come of age. First, let me just play a short clip of this video. This is it came on YouTube. It's a television video, but it came on YouTube. Again, I don't own the rights.
These declassified 19.
So this is just for educational purposes. All rights are reserved by its prospective owners. And again, this is something that, you know, this is what this all leads back to. You know, we can never forget the past, right? If we do, then we are doomed to repeat it. And as you see, we are repeating the past because people have been lied to about the past, and people don't even want to know the past. They're trying to change the past to suit their own agenda. And this is what they do with us. Okay?
These declassified 1950s era documents outline a secret CIA program to not only exploit the human mind, but also to create and deploy a hypnotically controlled agent.
It's an artificially created multiple personality where there's a new identity hidden behind an amnesia barrier. You call out this new identity with hypnotic verbal access codes and signals of some kind. You give it the assignment, whether it's courier, infiltration, or assassination assignment. The assignment's carried out. Then when you switch back to the regular person, they have no memory for anything to do with the entire operation.
Okay, so I'm just wanted to play this very short clip because, again, I don't want to, let's see here. All right, because I don't want to get a copyright strike, and so I got to put a disclaimer when I upload this video. So, mind control and ritual abuse. And as TIs, we know our family is involved in our targeting, okay? But that's the ritual abuse part of it. And that these people who are your family members will use each other. They will use their children to target you, okay? And why? Because they have been deceived, they have been brainwashed, they're under mind control, but you can't tell them that. They're not going to believe you because to them, you're the crazy one. Okay? So they're not going to listen to you. Even though, for the most part, you know what you're talking about. Because if you, like me and others who've done the research and study these things, okay, you know exactly what you're talking about. So, mind control, systemic control of people's memories, thoughts, feelings, and behavior by others. It may involve ritual abuse, methodical and severe abuse of people with deception, training, and exploitation by others. It always involves mind control. Okay, hypnosis come of age. I'm not going to read everything, but just a few sentence or even a paragraph or two. One of the most fascinating but dangerous applications of hypnosis is its use in military intelligence. This is a field with which I am familiar through formulating guidelines for the techniques used by the United States in II World War. Communication in war is always a headache. Codes can be broken A professional spy may or may not stay bought. Your own man may have unquestionable loyalty, but his judgment is always open to question. The hypnotic courier, on the other hand, provides a unique solution. I was involved in preparing many subjects for this work during World War II. One successful case involved an Army Service Corps captain whom we'll call George Smith. Captain Smith had undergone months of training. He was an excellent subject but did not realize it. I had removed from him by post-hypnotic suggestion all recollection of having been hypnotized. First, I had the service corps call the captain to Washington and tell him they needed to report on the mechanical equipment of Division X headquarters in Tokyo. Smith was ordered to leave by jet the next morning, pick up the report, and return at once. These orders were given to him in a waking state. Consciously, that was all he knew, and it was the story he gave his wife and friends. Then I put him under deep hypnosis and gave him orally a vital message to be delivered directly on his arrival to Japan to a certain colonel. Let's say his name was Brown of military intelligence. Aside of myself, Colonel Brown was the only person who could hypnotize Captain Smith. This is locking. I performed it by saying to the hypnotized captain, until further orders from me, only Colonel Brown and I can hypnotize you. Okay, and I'm going to end it right there. The reason why I read this is to let people understand that these things were being done decades ago. But yet people fail to understand what's going on. And it's because they themselves have been brainwashed. Okay? So when you prevent them with the evidence, cognitive dissonance takes over. Is a defense mechanism brought on by the hypnotized mind or the brainwashed mind. Okay? And again, mind reading computers. All right. Now, this is, again, if you look at the dates, July 1st, 1974, page 67. The experiment looks like some ingenious test on mental telepathy. Seated inside a small isolation booth with wires trailing from the helmet on her head, the subject seemed deep in concentration. She does not speak or move. Nearby, a white-coated scientist intently watched a TV screen. Suddenly, a little white dot hovering in the center of the screen comes to life. It sweeps the top of the screen, then reverses itself and comes back down. After a pause, it veers to the right, stops, moves to the left, momentarily speeds up, and finally halts, almost as if it were under the control of some external intelligence. In fact, it is. The unusual experiments conducted at the Stanford Research Institute, the SRI, in Menlo Park, California, is a graphic display of one of the newest and most dazzling breakthrough in cybernetics. It shows that a computer can, in a very real sense, read human minds. Although the dot gyration were directed by a computer, the machine was only carrying the orders from the test subject. She, in turn, did nothing more than think about what the dot movement should be. Okay? So again, these things are not science fiction. They've never been science fiction over the past 5 decades or so. Okay? But when you brainwash the nation to keep them ignorant, to keep them away from information, okay? See, this is why when, well, let me just say this. When I was working, okay, I worked with this, actually 2 jobs that I had, right? And there were these Chinese guys that I work with. And they both used to tell me, they say, like, Nigel, do you know that in the 1980s in Hong Kong, right? Because they both lived in Hong Kong. He was like, did you know in the 1980s that in Hong Kong they had Metro cards? And he was like, did you know that in the 90s we could use our credit card, our bank card to access the subway system? And I used to say to myself, why is that? This is why when you come to certain big cities, you go to the transit system, okay, and you see how old it is, right? And even when they do renovation, they don't they don't improve it to the point where going forward in the future it's more beneficial to the riders. Okay, it is to keep you thinking, because they know the vast majority of people in America not going to travel to China, not going to travel to Taiwan, to see these things. And even when you go to Europe, right, they do have some better railway system. When it comes to China, Japan, South Korea, Taiwan, those countries blows them out the water. See, the powers that be, the people that run things in this country, want to keep us ignorant as much as possible, because an educated population is a population that they can't control. It's a population that they can't use and abuse. It's a population that they can't divide the way that they've been dividing people today. Okay? They know this. So they want to keep us ignorant. All right? So this is why when we as TIs, we talk about these things, they don't want to believe it. Because they think these things, are only in the movies or on television. No, they're not. I'm not going to go into all of these things here. And again, what they've been doing recently, whenever I say a word like not, again, I'll hear this, okay? So any word that has a negative connotation or a negative meaning, okay, I will hear this. Okay, let me raise the volume slightly. Okay, all right, that's right. Okay, so I would hear this words like not, words like and I shouldn't say negative connotation too, but also words like in terms of like this is a race, test, or competition. So words like best, top, bottom, right? So and then they'll switch it up, right? Certain letters, words that begin with certain letters, like for example, C and F, P and F, W, F, W, E, W, P, or any combination. Could be backwards also, P, W, F, C, or what have you, such and such. So certain words that, or two words that starts with those letters, I'll hear this, okay? And what I'll do when I hear those words is I will use positive affirmation words, okay? So when the CF, I use words like courageous and fierce, courageously fierce, meaning that standing up to these individuals who are doing this, okay, who are in great numbers, being courageous and fierce, okay, and using like a word like anything that begins with the letter P, right? I'll use words like perfect, You know, anything to, because again, they're trying to destroy your confidence. So whenever any word that has a negative connotation, they will, you know, use the sirens to try to put you in a negative thinking pattern. Okay? Anything that's positive, they'll use the siren to try to knock down whatever confidence those words might give you. All right? Or whatever perceived confidence that they think those words will give you. Okay? So I used to talk about how, you know, they'll try to, and this is through coercive persuasion, brainwashing, mind control, is to put the victims in the not true category. Okay? So anything you want to do, they will sabotage to put you in the not true category. Okay? So you need to understand the tactics, the techniques, the processes that was done to you and that's being done to you. Okay? And then they will try to build a false sense of confidence. But if you're like me and you can recognize it, it doesn't work. And they know this. So this is why now they try to sabotage my effort and my attempts to build up my own confidence within myself through me, through what I've read, what I understand, right? Through positive affirmations. They don't want that. They want to be able to control your emotions. So when you build up your own self-confidence, they know it's something that they'll have a hard time trying to take away. Okay, so again, I said the word time, and now it is the car honking that's being played now, right? That car honking. Okay. Let me raise the volume. Okay. Right. So that's what they're doing now. Okay. So this website, it is a treasure trove of information that targeted individuals should read. You know, and also in the video with Colin Ross, he talks about the creation of multiple personalities. Okay. Now, my twin brother used to say this to me all the time. He's like, you know, they're trying to split my personalities. And he's right. They're trying to split my personality. And he's right, because they attempted to split mine. Okay. There are times when I find myself talking to myself in terms of saying, you know, like I'll have negative thoughts and then I'll be like, nope, it's not going to work. Y'all not going to do this and such, right? So when they have you talking to yourself like this, it is because they have attempted to create multiple personalities within you, and maybe they have. Okay? I'm not an expert in that department, but maybe they have. And it will take an expert to find out and understand if they did. Okay? So I just wanted to just talk about this a little bit, because this is very important to us as TIs, that we understand these things. And I try to find information and give to TIs, okay? Because sharing is caring, okay? And there are a lot of TIs out there who are been so traumatized with fear, doubt, uncertainty, who have lost all their confidence, that they're just shells of their former self. They're like walking empty shells. And so, you know, I try to do what I do also for them. Okay? It's not just for me, not just for my children, not just for us as human beings, or for me as a black person, and for us as black people. Okay? But for everyone. Because people have to understand that they have been, particularly in the black community, they have been running amok with their psychological programs and deceiving people into participating, sometimes through manipulation, sometimes through technology. They have created broken homes. Yes, they have. They've created trauma based programs in which they have infected families with that lead to the destruction of families. Okay, the presentation I talked about in one of my videos that I gave, your brain is like a computer, like a computer microchip. They can download whatever program they want to download it. Many of us don't want to believe that. And particularly as a black person, believe me when I tell you, white supremacists wake up every day formulating new ways, new plans to destroy us as black people, particularly us as black men. And so we are blinded because of the programming. We are blinded because of the covert actions by races within the system of government, within law enforcement, within the security agencies. And like I said, they've done everything. They sent me subliminal message today about that my medications, all requests for my refills have been declined. That's the reason why Walgreens haven't contacted me about picking up my medication, and I'm gonna stop by there because I want to hear what they're gonna say, and I'm gonna record it unless they've been told not to let me in Walgreens because I'm recording them. And yes, because if you're engaging in criminal activity against me, I'm going to record you. Okay? I don't care what they say. You are engaging in a criminal activity against me, whether it's psychological, that you think that you can get away with it, that you can just put it on me and say, oh, it's all in your mind. But then when I turn around and say to you, oh, it's all in your mind, then you want to get upset. But I'm supposed to smile and say, okay. No, it doesn't work like that. Not with me anyway. Okay? So now let's get to the next part of this video, which is the dark triad personality types within law enforcement. Okay? And what they do, the criminal activities they engage in. And like I said, it is because they have a gun and a badge, they believe that they are above the law. The law that they took an oath to follow, the constitutional oath that they took to follow the Constitution. But they operate on a different set of rules. A lot of it secretive. A lot of it they don't want the public to know. They don't even want the judges to know. Okay? So I think I was so tired yesterday. It's a good thing I bookmarked these things because I would not even remember these things. Okay? So let's talk about here, this article here. It's interview when the US government hides evidence. And we know that they do. We know police department hide evidence that could free innocent people. But they don't disclose these evidence because again, we have to look at these things as a program or programs being run. We don't look at it that way, but they do. Okay? Just like within the computer system, you have different programs to run on that system. As human beings, they use different programs. This is why, when we go through certain things, right, we say to ourselves, well, It's life. But do you know that there are millions of people out there who are going through the same thing as you? Why? Because it's a program. Our minds are programmed a certain way. So when we interact with each other, we have no choice but to follow the program. It is until you realize that you begin to deviate from your programming. You begin to think with a freer mindset. You begin to do things that are going to benefit you, the people around you, but this is what they don't want. And some of us have a different program being run at us for our destruction. Okay? So, the US government can use evidence that it may have obtained illegally for methods ranging from old-fashioned wiretaps to sophisticated data sweeps to prosecute people without telling them how it got the evidence, because the government wants to keep the source of this illegally obtained information secret. It concocts an alternative story to cover it up. Now, what also a lot of people don't think about is when they do these things in secret, what do you think part of the reason is? Well, I'll tell you. Planting evidence, setting people up. Okay? And if they do it secretively and illegally, then you know no good comes from it. Okay? And it is what they called fruit of the poisonous tree. All right? Now, I've heard this before, but it wasn't until I started reading this article that, and I looked up also, did I look up? I'm not sure if I look up parallel construction, but we're going to dive into that. Okay? So, this process called parallel construction is undermining the U.S. judicial system. Researcher Sarah St. Vincent talks about her new report with Amy Braunschweiger, detailing the danger parallel construction creates for everyone in the U.S. and why it needs to stop. So, what does parallel construction look like? We identify a case in Arizona where government officials illegally track a suspect rental car with a GPS device they've secretly installed without a warrant. When the federal official contacted the police near Flagstaff, Arizona, and told them to find a reason to pull over and search the car, so the local police pulled the person over using the temporary paper license plate in the window as an excuse. They then used a drug detecting dog to sniff the car and found drugs. In the US, we have a concept that is called the fruit of the poisonous tree. That means prosecutors are not supposed to be allowed to enter anything stemming from an illegal search into evidence in court. If we let the government use something illegal gathered at the trial, there's little incentive for law enforcement to obey the law. And regardless of that, they rarely do obey the law. They rarely do. And I was talking to somebody, I said, particularly what the conservative right wing has been doing in government for the past couple of years is stacking the federal courts, the state courts, with judges that are ultra conservative. Okay? So in states where the majority of people don't like certain groups of people, marginalized people, you're going to start to see a lot of arrests being made for really, I would say, with no evidence or evidence that have been planted and fabricated by police officers. And like I said, we see that today too. They'll arrest you and say you resist an arrest, though you didn't resist arrest. They pull on your arm too hard and it hurts, and you tighten so to prevent them from hurting your arm any further, that's resistant arrest. Okay? Because law enforcement has become big business. They make money from arrests, bail, court fees, all these things. So it is an industry in itself. And to make that industry profitable, they need to criminalize people. Understand, you have to look at the broader picture here. Not just what's in front of you, what's on the surface, but you have to broaden your circle of awareness. That's how you begin to think critically. Okay? In the Arizona case, using the GPS device without a warrant violate Arizona law. In court, the government pretended the case started with a minor traffic infringement. Again, lies. So the defendant went to prison without knowing that his rights were violated. Okay? The truth was revealed during a later federal trial, not the state trial that landed him behind bars. So he went to jail. Okay? But he had drugs on him. He was guilty. Why shouldn't he be in prison? Let's look at the big picture. Everyone has a right to a fair trial. If the government does something illegal, it doesn't get to benefit from it. But it certainly does. History have shown us that. How many people has the innocent project freed? How many prosecutors have been caught after investigation that freed a lot of these individuals, that they withheld evidence? Okay? Or the police officers involved were lied, they commit perjury, they planted evidence. America doesn't have a judicial system. America has an imprisonment system. Okay? And this is just one aspect of living life in America, and particularly if you're a black person. Okay? So, and you hear the police siren again when I say particularly if you are a black person. Okay? I hear. So like I say, certain words, this is what they will do. Word or words or phrase. Okay? This is what's going on outside. Okay? So, one of the problem here is that you can have the government deciding for itself what's legal and potentially hiding things it thinks are acceptable. But that may not actually be constitutional. Sometimes, too, the government may be concealing activities it knows or should know are unlawful, as in the Arizona case. If you're a defendant, you need to be able to question what the government did. And if you're a judge, you need to be able to play your role, which is to determine whether evidence found legally, if the true circumstances of how the government got the evidence are hidden. Neither of those things can happen. When it uses parallel construction, the government usurps the role, I hope I'm saying that right, the role of the judge, and leave both the judge and defendants in the dark. And in many cases, this is what's happening. There are thousands upon thousands, tens of thousands of people in jail right now because of these crooked criminal activities by police officers, by prosecutors, whether it be on the state level or on the federal level. Okay? But yet, nothing is being done. These people are not held accountable and responsible, and so they continue to do these things. Once in a while, they may throw one another, throw one of their own under the bus, okay, to quiet the public down, to stop people from questioning more, for more questions, more, you know, suspicion in terms of the government committing illegal acts and its agencies committing illegal acts. This is what they do. Because again, it is a program and they understand it very well. And they understand how we have been brainwashed as a people, or groups of people. Okay? What if an innocent person goes to prison? Or what if the government was engaging in illegal surveillance that affect a specific community? The ramification goes far beyond the particular case. We might never know about the very problematic activity because the government was covering it up. Going back to your question, people are innocent until proven guilty. Not in America. It may say that, but you are not. You are guilty first, then you are proven innocent. That's the way it is. Okay, so when they say innocent and proven guilty, it is a word play on your mind. It is to trick your mind into believing that. Okay? Because we know you are guilty, because guess what? You are thrown in jail and then you have to prove yourself innocent. Okay? All right. So that makes it especially important for the government to respect the rules in all cases, even where law enforcement is convinced someone committed a crime. What new information on this practice does your report reveal? We interviewed a former federal prosecutor who was part of the DEA Special Operation Division and who suggested that it regularly distributes tips, maybe even daily. But I don't believe we're seeing the disclosure of the sources of those tips when the cases go to court. We also have many examples of defense attorney who tried and failed to pinpoint parallel construction. We have prosecutors who refuse to check with the national security agencies or other intelligence agencies to see if, say, they pass on tips with some huge surveillance program. So let me ask this question. We knew about, from the Edward Snowden revelation, about the what's the device called? The Stingray. Okay. Which, again, the public knew nothing about. Cops were sitting in neighborhoods, listening to phone conversations. Whether you're talking about committing a crime or not, a crime committed, is, is at this, I shouldn't say is of no significant, but what it does is that instead of going to get a warrant, which I guess they would figure, well, they wouldn't get it because of the illegal activity that they were engaging in. Again, criminal activities, right? So how many cases happen because of that? Okay. So we also have many examples of so how did you find the defense attorney that ran into these problems if they themselves couldn't identify them? Research anything that might touch on a classified subject is very difficult. Researching, I should say, anything that might touch on a classified subject is very difficult. We did tons of outreach to defense attorneys saying, did you ever have a case where something didn't feel quite right? And slowly, painstaking for more than a year, we found attorneys who have suspected parallel construction. We also learned that traffic stops originated from federal tips are called wall stops and whisper stops. Once I knew those terms, I could do a search of a legal database or on Google, we ultimately found records of 95 relevant court cases. We reached out to current and former government officials we knew and found others by looking at government records. We also combed through several hundred pages of information regarding DEA training that were released to a journalist via the Freedom of Information Act after Ruthers first reported on parallel construction in 2013. I never even knew about that. Let's see. Okay, exclusive. U.S. direct agents to cover a program used to investigate Americans. See? We're going to get into this. Okay, maybe not today. Okay, where was I? Shoot. What happened here? Okay, gotta find where I was. Okay, right here. There you go. Okay. The nature of a cover up is that it is very hard to identify. If I wanted to hide something and rip up my floor, hit the item, and lay a new floor, it's hard for someone to come in and say something's wrong. Is the DEA the agency most involved in parallel construction? We have the most evidence for the DEA, but we found cases where other agencies admit to requesting wall stops. One of the people we interviewed was Derek Maltz, who for a long time was a special agent in charge of the DEA Special Operation Division. A piece of the puzzle is understanding this unit, where law enforcement information is centralized and where our sources suggest many tips leading to prosecution originated. Arthur Rizzer, a former prosecutor working in the Special Operation Division, suggests to us that SOD tips were used for federal prosecution daily when he was there. Okay. All right. So I'm not going to go much any further on this, but let's look up what is called the fruit of poisonous tree. And I had to look that up, right? And this is from the Cornell Law School Legal Information Institute. Fruit of the poisonous tree. A doctrine that extends the exclusionary rule to make evidence inadmissible in court if it was derived from evidence that was illegally obtained. As the metaphor suggests, if the evidential tree is tainted, so is its fruits. The doctrine was established in 1920 by the decision in Silverthorne Lumber Co. versus the United States. And the phrase fruit of the poisonous tree was coined by Justice Frank Fudder in his 1939 opinion in Nardone versus the United States. Like the exclusionary rule itself, this doctrine is subject to three important exceptions. The evidence will not be excluded if it was discovered from a source dependent of the illegal activity, its discovery was inevitable, or if there is a attenuation between the illegal activity and the discovery of the evidence. Further, if the primary evidence was illegally obtained but admissible under the good faith exception, it derivative or fruit may also be admissible. Okay, so that's the fruit of the poisonous tree. Now let me just go here. Okay, which I just pulled up. Again, this was in 2013. Ruthers, Washington. A secret U.S. Drug Enforcement Agency unit is funneling information from intelligence intercept, wiretaps, informants, and a massive database of telephone records to authorities across the nation to help them launch criminal investigation of Americans. Although these cases rarely involve national security issues, documents reviewed by Reuters show that law enforcement agents have been directed to conceal how such investigations truly begin, not only from defense lawyers, but also sometimes from prosecutors and judges. So you want to talk about criminality here? Again, talk about the dark triad personality types. And we know through the history and evidence that DEA agents and the CIA were some of the biggest drug traffickers in America. And you think that stops today with all that we know? No. Because they have informants who are drug dealers, who they let sell their drugs, uninterrupted. The amount of criminal activities is astounding, but they get away with it because, again, these people seek positions of power so they can get away with the crimes they want to commit under the guise of law enforcement. Okay? So, when I say law enforcement, I hear a car honk. I'm telling you, they and again, the real-time feedback, right? That's what I hear. Again, to me, like I talk about AI and TIs, and as a target individual being microchip, it is a program, okay? And so, again, I could be watching a video, and immediately after or before something is said, hear siren, hear car honking. How do they know that? Doesn't matter what video, because every video is uploaded, recorded. Everything the person said in the video is put into that database. And if you're a TI and you're in this program, okay, and they will do this just to show you their capabilities, that before a person say a certain word or a certain phrase, they will use a car honk or the police siren. Okay? I experience this daily. Right? And it's nerve-wracking at times. Okay? Okay, although these cases really involve okay, just read that. The undated documents show that federal agents are trained to recreate the investigative trail to effectively cover. Again, this is what they do. They will lie, create whatever narrative. I talk about that. Create whatever narrative to suit their agenda. Okay? So effectively cover up where the information originated. A practice that some experts said violates a defendant's constitutional right to a fair trial. If defendants don't know how an investigation began, they cannot know how to ask to review potential sources for exculpatory evidence, information that could reveal entrapment, mistakes, or biased witnesses. And I talk about the entrapment thing because entrapment, I always thought entrapment was illegal, but apparently not, because the FBI used entrapment all the time. They'll, particularly in communities of color, particularly black community, where they'll seek black men who they know have mental issues or learning disabilities, okay, poor, and they will manipulate them. And yet, before court in front of judges, the fact that the FBI can break the law, can entrap people who have clearly mental issues, and then sentence them, and the FBI agents bringing out the champagne, patting themselves in the back, saying we prevented terrorism. Understand the personalities of these people. You have criminals operating as law enforcement agents, creating criminals who they will then prosecute. It's a program. I have never heard of anything like this at all, says Nancy Gertner, a Harvard Law School professor who served as a federal judge from 1994 to 2011. Gertner and other legal experts said the program sounds, again, the program, okay? You see, we sometimes we see this word program, but we don't think about it in a way in which we should think about it, right? The program sounds more troubling than recent disclosure that the National Security Agency have been collecting domestic phone records. This is a former federal judge. She said it sounds more troubling, right, than the NSA spying on us here in America. The NSA effort is geared towards stopping terrorism. The DEA program targets common criminals, primarily drug dealers. It is one thing to create special rules for national security, Gertner said. Ordinary crime is entirely different. It sounds like they're ponying up investigations. Okay? So I'm going to stop this right here because I don't want to make this video too long. Okay? We're just over an hour. And again, like I said, I don't talk about things just based off of my opinion. I got to give you the facts. I got to give you the information. Okay? So, let's talk about this. Police fabricate evidence, bully witness to frame man for murder, lawsuit says. A Tennessee man said he spent 5 years in jail for a murder he did not commit. Let me increase. Let's go here, and this type is too small. My eyes have gotten progressively worse. Let me tell you, before I used to be sit back like 3 feet away or 4 feet away from my monitor, and I can read the type. I can't even do that anymore. Because when I'm on that heavy remote neural monitoring and they're hijacking my mind and seeing through my eyes, over the past 2 years, I would say, my eyes have gotten worse in just 2 years. Okay? So, all right. So a Tennessee man said he spent 5 years in jail for a murder he did not commit because a state police detective and a former Kentucky sheriff lied to protect a man who was related to the detective and had bribed the sheriff. William Anderson filed a lawsuit in federal court Monday that says former Knox County Sheriff John Pickard and Kentucky State Police Detective Jason York coached witnesses on what to say, and that York even assaulted one man during a recorded interview for refusing to implicate Anderson. Anderson, 37, was acquitted of all charges by the jury last year. Cops do this all the time. So why do people seem surprised or act surprised when these things happen, when they hear these things, when they're finally being brought to the forefront? Particularly in the case of black men, talking about cops framing them and planting drugs and evidence on them, stealing from them. It wasn't until, and even with body cams videos, these criminals, they don't care. They don't care at all. Okay? And it's not just here in the United States. Okay? Here's an article from, last month actually. Police linked to hacking campaign to frame Indian activists. New details connect police in India to a plot to plant evidence on victims' computer that led to their arrests. Okay? So police force around the world have increasingly used hacking tools to identify and track protesters, expose political dissidents' secrets, and turn activist computers and phones into inescapable eavesdropping bugs. Now, new clues in a case in India connect law enforcement to a hacking campaign that used those tools to go on appalling steps further, planting false incriminating files on targets' computers that the same police then use as grounds to arrest and jail them. Okay? So it's not just in the United States. But again, it is those criminals, those psychopaths, those dark triad personality types who position themselves in positions of power so they can get away with these things, these crimes. Now, I bet you a lot of people never heard of this, right? New York City to pay up to $75 million over dismissed summonses. Okay? And this is from 2017. Okay? New York City has agreed to pay up to $75 million to settle a federal class action lawsuit that accused its police department of issuing hundreds of thousands of criminal summonses that were later found to be without legal justification, according to the signed copy of the proposed deal filed on Monday. And that's just summonses. What about people they've actually arrested, thrown in jail, went to trial, and get found guilty of a crime that they did not commit? Because these criminals, these psychopaths, these dark triad personality types, these Machiavellian, personalities, right? Sociopath on the police force, and it's not all of them, but it's most of them. And it starts from the top down. You will rarely see people in power who have a strong moral code, who have a strong will to do the right thing. You will rarely find them in position of power. And if they are in position of power, I can guarantee you they are going to be set up in some way, unless they are actively aware of what's going on. Okay? But they will never be the majority. Never. The summonses have been issued for typical minor offense like disorderly conduct, trespassing, drinking in public, quality of life concern that have been a major theme for policing in New York for 2 decades or so. Not also that, but imagine the money that the city is raking in. I myself got a ticket for dropping my son off in front of the building that he lives in, so he can go with my son and my daughter. Anyway, so he can go use the bathroom. And while I was double parked, I was in the car waiting, right? This traffic cop, this scumbag, gave me a ticket while ignoring the car in front of me, right? That was also letting the passenger off, and proceeded to tell me that I can't double park, even though there were other cars in front and behind me that were double park. And I call him a scumbag because he's a scumbag. It's on my YouTube channel. As a matter of fact, on this channel. You guys gonna have to, if you're gonna go look for it, you're gonna have a hard time finding it. Okay, I didn't used to title my videos, in ways that you know now, so you can go look, right? Because it just used to be the target individual video with the date, the target individual program, sorry, with the date. That's it. Okay, and again, shout out to Alda Mysteriosa, who literally had to damn near curse at me and be like, "What the hell you doing, man?" You know, I'm trying to find this video, but every video I go on your channel is titled "The Target Individual Program." So, yeah, because at the time I wasn't thinking straight. I couldn't. My targeting was so bad, right? And I was just trying to get as much video out there as I can. Okay. So, lawyers for the plaintiff had asserted that the sermons were part of a policy that was selectively and disproportionately enforced in minority communities. That claim was also a focus of earlier lawsuit that had challenged the department policing philosophy that rely on stop, question, and frisk encounters. The city use of stop and frisk as a crime prevention strategy ended in 2013 after a class action suit resulted in a sweeping decision that found that the city had engaged in a policy of indirect, no, not indirect, it's direct, racial profiling of minority communities. In announcing 3 years ago that the city had agreed to reform, Mayor Bill de Blasio said stop and frisk had unfairly targeted young African Americans and Latino men. Okay? The proposed settlement filed on Monday was seen by lawyers for the plaintiff as another repudiation of the city policing policy. It covers at least 900,000 summonses issued from 2007 to 2015 that were dismissed on ground of legal insufficiency, which a federal judge later found was tantamount to a decision that probable cause was presumably lacking. It's always as, I wish I could find this video I was looking at earlier where you had police officers, right? Not stop this, but there was this guy waiting in the parking lot for his girlfriend or wife. She comes out of the store. They approach the car, put the guy in handcuffs, black guy, got dreads, red dreads, what have you, claiming that he matches the description of a suspect that was involved in a homicide. Now, when they showed the picture of the person to the guy they had in handcuffs, they put him in handcuffs, and they showed his wife or girlfriend, she didn't say she was married or not, the person looked totally different. The person had tattooed on his face. The person was a different skin complexion. Okay? Clearly, they were lying. And this woman had it all on tape. And I was saying to myself, man, they had themselves a lawsuit that they are guaranteed to win. And these cops are so oblivious to their violation of this man's rights that even the cops said they had determined that he was not the suspect. So they were lying to keep him in handcuffs because they were hoping to find something within the system that maybe he had a warrant or something like that just by the way he looked. And the cops were laughing about it. And this woman, she became very distraught because she's like, we are law-abiding citizens. We haven't done anything. We always thought it would never happen to us. Never happened to us. Okay, but that's how the Negropeans think, right? Negropeans think like that. They think it happens to everybody else, but it won't happen to them. And when it does, then they're severely destroyed. You got to expect it as a black person in America that at some point it's going to happen to you. Okay? So then he told him, he's like, listen, I'm a licensed gun owner. I have a gun in the car. They went, they got the gun. They put it in the police vehicle. He's like, it's legit. They checked it, what have you, and such, right? And they were talking, the woman was talking to one of the female officers, and she was like, clearly you guys racial profile him. Clearly, because you said that he is not the suspect. So why you still have him in handcuffs? You know, what are you guys looking for? Are you guys trying to plant evidence or something like that? And this is why it's important that you film police encounters. Okay? Because even when they know what they're doing is wrong and they have the body camera on, they don't care. Because they know the department is going to be behind them. And in 99.9% of cops that do wrong that is caught on body cam, the department always back them up. Okay? Until the lawyers sue for the body cam footage. Sometimes they will stall it for years. And then then they want to put the cop on modified leave, right? But paid modified leave. So like I said, it ain't no few rotten apples. The whole damn barrel, the whole damn tree is rotten with just a few good ones who will eventually become rotten. Okay? And those that don't become rotten, guess what happened? They fall off the tree and they become rotten on the ground. And how they become rotten, not that they become bad people, they are attacked. They are psychologically labeled. They are harassed. Okay? So they've made their life rot in that sense. Not that those cops are rotten. You know, and again, it's the facts I'm talking. I'm not talking just to talk. It's the facts. And you see, and they don't like when I do videos like this. They don't like it when they are now, when the attention is placed on them. This is why they do projection. This is why they engage in criminal acts. Okay? This is why they try to criminalize you. To keep the public eyes off of them and onto the people that they have harassed, violate, criminalized. So they don't like that. And I don't care how angry they may get. I'm just one person. I walk the street every day knowing that they can assault me, they can possibly kill me, they can get whoever to kill me. I've shown you videos late at night as I'm walking home. They have people standing on my block. Okay? You know what I'm saying? That's like trying to threaten me, right? Subliminally threaten me. It wasn't, like I said, until I start to do the research and understand what was being done, analyzing my mind while being in this program, and still is in this program, what was done to me, right? Remembering bits and pieces from things that happened in my past that directly, that I directly made the conclusion that, yeah, this was happening to me way before I become aware. Okay? Way before this, I was, it became overt. Okay, now it's both. Now it's both covert and overt. Okay? So, yeah. All right. I think there was a video. Oh, yes. So, as I was saying before, this is going to be the video I'm going to play, and then I'm going to end this video because, like I said, whatever white people allow these criminals with badges to do to black people, eventually it's going to trickle down to them and move to their neighborhood, because what they have done, they have successfully created and reinforced the psychopathic, the narcissistic, the sociopathic personalities that a lot of these police officers either had when they came into the police department, or after being in the police department and being around those personality types, they become that way. Watch this video, okay? Let me. Do I want to? All right, so Look what happened to him. Throws him to the ground. Look. And knock him into the street light. Okay? Again, white cop. Look, look.
Oh my God, bro! What is your deal?
The guy just asked what's going on. Okay? He just asks what's going on. Look.
Oh my God, bro! What is your deal?
It's a bunch of white people, right? Ain't no black people there.
Oh my God!
Okay? That's David Schuster. But again, it's incredible. So when I talk about these people, right? These people who have gun a badge, you know, they engage in criminal act. Some of them are highly religious and have ulterior motive because they think that gun of a badge, they are authorized by God to dole out God's punishment amongst the wicked or the evil. They don't see people as human, with any humanity. Okay? It takes away putting on that uniform particularly when they come into black and brown communities. They said they stay on word. It's us against them. We're at war. And most of the time, they're the one that's creating that war. They're the one that's engaging in the criminal activity, turning people into criminals, giving them criminal records, planting drugs evidence on them, stealing from them. And there is rarely any punishment. They may get a suspension, but they get paid. The millions of lives that they've destroyed over the decades, it's astounding. So, like I said, they can spread their rumors. Let them. Nothing I can do about that. But I'm gonna spread the truth. Okay? They want to talk about history. They can go through my history. Oh, they have a history that's well documented. And trust me, my history is nothing compared to their history. I'm at the little tiny dot in the bottom. They're like a whole damn graph all the way to the top. Okay? The use of mind control tactics, psychological manipulation that have been taught to them by those in the CIA during the 80s, in the crack cocaine era, crack cocaine that had flooded the streets of inner cities in America, as well as rural, poor areas. The drugs that were brought in by the CIA. Okay? Who wanted to get millions of black people hooked on drugs, and then they can take the money through drug seizures to fund their illegal war. It was all a program. The mind control, manipulating people, brainwashing them, implanting them for non-consensual human experimentation. It is a program. Villainizing us, manipulating us. It is a program. And to keep us from exposing those programs, they have to villainize us. They have to label us. And when we speak out against it, they will destroy our lives, even though they're destroying our lives altogether. But when you start to speak out and speak up, they don't like that. They will take everything from you. They've told me this. We're going to take everything from you. You're going to take your kids. You're going to destroy your relationships. You're never going to find anyone. Then they try to set you up with honey traps. But I see it. I don't fall for it. And they don't like that. They want to be able to control, to manipulate us as much as possible. And because they figure it's done in the psychological realm, no one is going to suspect what is going on. And this is why I do what I do, because I don't want this happening to anybody else. And I got to play my part, okay? This is part of my purpose. And it's a purpose that I have that they don't like and they don't want to have happen. You know? And, recently they'll talk about ending my bloodline, my family's bloodline. This is what these people do. They try to get rid of the people within the society who see the wrongness being done, who have been done injustices and fighting back. And they don't want people like us. They don't want activists, civil rights activists, political activists. As in other countries where you see repressive governments murder, imprison, silent so-called dissidents, human rights activists. They want to continue to abuse people, criminalize people as much as they can, and they don't want anybody saying anything or doing anything about it. America is no different from North Korea, except the illusion of democracy that has been cast into our mind through brainwashing and manipulation. It's no different from China. It's no different from the countries who they claim are violating their citizens' rights. It's no different. It's no different from countries that commit non-consensual human experimentation and try to silence those victims. America is no different. But the psychopaths in charge, they think that they're different. Why do you think that they're different? Because they're not overtly and aggressively brutalizing people out there on the street. But yes, they are. It's just that it's black people. But like I said, eventually it will trickle down into other communities. And the video I just showed you is proof of that. Okay? So, with that being said, I will talk to you guys on the next Target Individual program, Target Individual Experience. I'll talk to you guys on the next one.